Preparing Thai cuisine requires the knowledge to balance saltiness, hotness, tartness, and sweetness. All Thai dishes will have at least 2 or 3 of these elements, and many will have all 4. At our visit to the fish sauce factory, we learned the source of the first one. Then we saw how chilies grow, the source of the hotness. In fields of lemongrass, kaffir, and ordinary lime trees, and in the shade of tamarind trees, like the one from which room is emerging right now, we saw the herbs and fruits that provide the tartness. Now, before we return to Samui, we'll make one last stop where we'll see the source of the sweetness that is equally essential in Thai cooking. On this family-owned and farmed plantation in nearby Surat Thani province stand 10 sugar palm trees. Taller than the oil palms we saw earlier, with long, prodigious leaves, at about 20 years old, these trees begin bearing the fruit from which the sweet sap used in making palm sugar and palm honey is drained. During a lifetime of up to 40 years or more, the trees continue to bear fruit, during which harvesting takes place twice a year. Unlike coconut-bearing palms with their towering but fairly skinny trunks, the robustness of these trees allows the farmer to climb all the way to the top by lashing to them long, sturdy bamboo poles. He carries with him on his waist receptacles like these, also made from bamboo. Some bamboo, by the way, cut during early stages of growth, is eaten in soups, salads, and curries. When it's young and boiled or stewed, it's tender and tasty. The farmer's destination is these, the long yellow blossoms of the sugar palm. Using the sturdiest leaves as footrests, he cuts the ends from the blossoms and hooks his collection tubes over each one. It's hard work, usually done in the early evening when the sun is on its way down and the temperature has cooled. Later, or on another day in a nearby tree, the farmer uses his machete to cut some of the fibrous leaves that will be used to fashion the little handmade rings that hold the dollops of palm sugar that are sold at market. Early the next morning, soon after sunrise, the farmer returns to his trees to retrieve the collection tubes, which now contain the sweet sap emptied from the blossoms. Meanwhile, under the shade of the family's sugar-making hut, 3 generations of palm sugar makers, the farmer's extended family, are preparing the next step in the process. The raw sap is filtered through matted shavings made from the wood of a local tree that contains a natural preservative. This preservative will help to maintain the shelf life of the sugar during its transportation and sale. Next, a wood fire is built under a giant cooking pan in which, over the course of 2 hours or more, the sugar will be attended to by various family members, who stir it until it begins to thicken. During this stage of cooking, the sugar changes from yellow to an extraordinarily deep rust color. Meanwhile, other family members are slicing the palm leaves into the uniformly thin strips used to encircle the dollops of palm sugar when it's time for them to harden. The harvesting and cooking of all the sugar, of course, takes place over weeks in batches. A variety of delicious rice cakes, puddings, and jellies are also eaten by Thais, generally as snacks. If you visit Thailand, you'll see them being sold by street vendors from under flat glass-covered mobile displays attached to motorbikes. The sap reserved for making such sweets is removed from the heat at an early stage and stored in earthenware jars like these, where it will keep for months. This batch of sugar, however, is now removed from the heat and the pan is placed on a rubber tire, where using a wire whisk, it's beaten as it begins to cool and thicken. First to a paste, changing color yet again as it does. On this day, anyone who wished, including visitors, was welcome to express an opinion on the most opportune time to lay down the beater. With memories that will linger, we're going to leave the factories, fields, and agricultural workers of this province now, board the ferry, and head back home to Koh Samui for the last part of our journey. With the construction of hotels and homes booming on Samui, the number of the island's palm trees are diminishing, but for now, much of the forest cover remains. The hills are home to many fruit orchards, with trees that bear durian, mango, and jack, as well as cashew nuts. But the island is most famous for its seemingly endless coconut palms. At this family-owned and operated plantation, the fruit of the trees is harvested for the oil and the coconut milk used in cooking. If you've ever wondered how coconuts are picked before they become overripe and fall to the ground, in this part of Thailand, the answer lies in the close relationship that remains between the farmer and his working animals. On Koh Samui and elsewhere in Surat Thani province, monkeys are trained for the task of identifying ripe fruit and harvesting it. These trees, some of which are as old as 100 years, bear fruit every 5 months. Coconuts that are picked while still young and green contain liquid that makes for a refreshingly sweet drink, taken as is through a straw. The meat of young coconuts is also used in certain dishes. At this farm, however, the fruit is generally allowed to ripen fully before its smallest and most agile employees get to work. The monkey selects only the ripe fruit and twists it on the vine until it breaks free and drops. Up to 1,000 a day are harvested at this plantation. The next step is to remove the husks. Looks easy, doesn't it? But nothing that Roong has done during her 20 years in the kitchen has prepared her for this. Looks like SITCA will be buying our coconut milk from the local market for a little while longer. The husks are used as the source of the heat in smoking a portion of the crop. The cooked fruit will be pressed into oil used for cooking. This woman is the owner of this plantation. As long as her fingers remain nimble and strong, she, as well as any family member who wishes, will be an active part of its operation. Every day throughout the kingdom, shops like this one, often right on the premises of the local market, grind the flesh of coconuts to make nam katit, or the coconut milk used in cooking. A little water facilitates the grinding. No sugar or sweetening of any kind is added. None is needed. Everyone from home cooks to restaurateurs will visit shops like this one for their daily supply. It's generally accepted that rice was first cultivated in this land once called Siam. Thai rice is amongst the finest in the world, and Thailand has been the world's leading exporter for decades. At this local museum, about a 1/2-hour drive from SITCA, you can watch a demonstration of traditional rice farming and harvesting techniques, using the water buffalo that are still a part of the island's landscape in many places. The buffalo is so much a part of the traditional farming household that many people in Thailand choose not to eat beef. The view of some whose lives are spent working alongside these old friends that plow their fields and help to sustain their keepers in other ways is that a lifetime of work should be rewarded with better than slaughter and consumption. And so on most farms, they are allowed to grow old and die natural deaths. It seems appropriate to end our culinary tour with rice. In Thailand, it's eaten in one form or another at virtually every meal, and such is the integral part it plays in daily life. Morning, noon, or evening, the most traditional casual greeting exchanged by friends and neighbors, "Kin kao le yang," translates as, "Have you eaten rice yet?" The planting of rice begins in a part of the farmer's field set aside for this purpose, where unhusked rice like this is planted before the onset of rainy season, around the month of July in most parts of the country. The paddies are plowed using water buffalo and kept flooded. Of course, the more land and the more buffalo one possesses, the larger the crop. When the rice is grown to a height of about 20 centimeters, the thick clumps of shoots are transplanted into the paddies. When the rains have stopped and the shoots turn brown, they are harvested. The rice is then threshed and the grains are separated from the chaff using baskets like these. Finally, the rice is polished and winnowed again to produce the product that is sold by the sack at market. We hope you've enjoyed this culinary tour, that it's added to your knowledge of Thai food, and that it will tempt you to come take some of SITCA's cooking classes on Samui Island, and to explore, during your travels in the kingdom, the cuisine of Thailand.